Good morning, everyone online, and welcome to day 3 of NWR's Resources Conference. Looking forward to a big day of presentations from companies. First up today, we have, my name's Mark Tomlinson, for those who don't know me. First up today, we have Andromeda Metals, an industrial minerals company. Its focus is in South Australia on its Great White Kaolin Project. The company has done very well in the market and seems to be on the basis of having been able to produce halloysite, nanocarbon or kaolin from, or fullerene from its Great White Project. Presenting today is the MD of Andromeda, James Marsh, who is an industrial chemist with extensive experience across the industrial minerals space for 25 years, and is credited, I believe, with driving the project to the heights it's achieving now. James, over to you. Looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. I'm beaming live from Queensland, early morning, and thanks to COVID, I'll be here for a bit longer. So this morning, I'm going to present a sort of rerun, but an updated rerun of my presentation that I gave at the NWR conference last week. But this morning, I've got a bit more time, so I can expand on a few areas and give you some more detail, which should be useful. So Andromeda, so we're developing a world-class halloysite-kaolin project, and I'll tell you exactly what that is shortly. Here's the corporate overview, and this has changed actually a fair bit even since last week. So share price has been going very well. You'll see from the graph there, we're now almost 30 cents a share, and got about 6.8 million in the bank, and the market cap now is getting close to 600 million. So it's been a very good success story so far, but we've still got a long way to go. And the good news is we've got an excellent board here. The Andromeda board is very experienced in a lot of areas, very hard working, and we're happy that we've got all the areas of the business covered well here to drive this forward to even more success. At the moment, we've got some options still out there, some listed options, but they are due to expire at the end of this month. So if anyone's out there hasn't exercised them yet, you've got about 10 days left. Sorry, wrong way. Okay, so what are our assets? Here we are. First of all, at the top, we've got halloysite-kaolin. This is our primary focus. We are intending to be all things halloysite, as I said before. And so what we've done is we've concentrated totally on that project, and we've joint ventured out the other assets down below there you see on the slide. So we're now 75% of the Great White joint venture with Minotaur Exploration, and we have 100% of Mount Hope, which is an area of halloysite-kaolin very close by. So the additional assets, they're still going ahead, but they're being driven by our partners. So we've got some gold assets there and a copper asset. The good news is we don't have to get involved with that. That's just done by our joint venture partners, while we keep the focus right on where it needs to be. So what is the Great White Kaolin Project? We see on the map there that we have some very interesting resources, deposits there labeled, and we're convinced that we have, within those tenement areas, we have all of the halloysite-kaolin that's of interest commercially. At this point in time, we have about 100 million tonnes total in JORC compliant resource material. There is more there, and we'll be releasing more news on that over the next few weeks as we go forward. This is one of the world's largest known high purity halloysite-kaolin resources. So that's very important. It means it's very consistent and high purity. So any customers in the world who will be using this material, they will value that consistency. Because at the moment, there really isn't anything in the world that is consistent of that material around. So we're in a very strong position. We're located close to infrastructure. We've got some, at least 3 ports, possibly 4, that can ship this material around the world for us. That's very important because the shipping cost is about 80% of the cost of product normally. So we're in a strong position there. Our pre-feasibility study gave some great numbers. But we are now working through our DFS and to a BFS, which should be improved on that. In addition to that, we've got a a lot of opportunities and a lot of very interesting new opportunities that are coming through actually very rapidly at the moment in the nanotube technology space. Potentially some extremely high value applications coming through there. And we are also still looking at opportunities for high purity alumina, because our kaolin is such high purity, we've proven that we can actually get to a high purity alumina product, possibly at a lower OPEX and probably to a much higher purity. So that's still of interest to us. So what's the key takeouts here to start with? So the keys for us are, number one, we are the low capex. And when I say low capex, we're talking about probably about 10% of our current market cap would actually build us a full plant that we need on site. So that makes us a low capex, short payback time. The PFS numbers showed that payback was about 15 months. And we got a very large scale potential here. So we can expand that and become, as I said before, become the world's biggest in this area. Now, kaolin is a material that's quite common. Kaolin is the different version of the halloysite-kaolin, and this material is found all over the world in large amounts, and you use it every day in all sorts of applications. So you wear it in your clothes, it's in food, it's in your car, it's everywhere, in your house. So what we have though is the halloysite, which is a much more valuable version, and that's why it makes this project of interest. And the global supply of this material is actually reducing. And the biggest mine in the world in China, it's run for decades now, is running out of material. And they actually want to buy our product to process themselves. So that puts us in a very strong position as well. At this point in time, we have LOIs, letters of intent, for offtakes, totaling almost 1 million tons a year. So that just shows you how much interest in the market is out there for this product. And we are in the process of converting those across to some binding offtakes at the moment. So we aim to be the largest supplier of halloysite-kaolin, but also a world leader in halloysite and halloysite nanotechnology. And that means the whole area of the mineral. That means exploration, analysis, applications, and production. So that is our goal. For those of you who don't know what this material is, kaolinite is a plating material, about 2 microns across each plate. On the left-hand side, you'll see some plates there. Now, sometimes that material rolls up. It's quite rare in the world, but it does roll up into tubes, into nanotubes, which have a very interesting structure. They have the same length, so about 2 microns typically, sometimes a bit longer. But the internal diameter is about 30 nanometers. So that makes it very interesting. It's for 2 different reasons. It becomes higher purity in the process, but also that shape makes it very functional for a lot of new exciting applications. What we have in the ground is on the right-hand side picture there is, this is our Great White resource. It's a hybrid. So it's a combination of those 2 materials. And that is interesting because that is a perfect combination for ceramics. So high value porcelain ceramics, they want that combination because that gives them the balance between whiteness, strength, and plasticity, which means that you can make some very expensive, high quality porcelain out of it. There is one company in the world that actually makes that synthetically. And that means they have to buy some halloysite from another part of the world, which is very expensive in a pure form, and add it in. That makes it an expensive material to make, but they still can sell that and make a lot of money. The good thing for us is that we have that material already in the ground, just like that. So we've got a massive head start there. And also we've got, as I said before, we've got about 100 million tons of that material. This just gives you a bit more detail on the applications for kaolin, where it's used right now. You'll see there that there's about 34% into ceramics. Now, about 2 million tons of that, because that total represents about 26 million tons. About 2 million tons of that will be going into the high-end ceramics market, which is what we targeted for our pre-feasibility study. And that's where we get the good numbers from. So we don't need to get a great deal of that market to actually hit those goals. The good news is, though, that the people currently supplying those customers are struggling quite badly now. So the customers are really waiting for us to get into production. And as soon as we are, then I'm sure they'll be buying it in the numbers we've described. A new area we're looking at is in a recent release that you may have seen. We've actually found that at our Mount Hope deposit on the Eyre Peninsula, and also in the Great White resource, we have some ultra high purity kaolin. Now this is non-halloysite type kaolin, so it's the conventional type, but it's the purest kaolin that I've ever seen, and colleagues of mine have seen in 30 or 40 years of being in the industry. So that's very exciting because that opens up the paint and coating sector there, which is about 8% of the global market. And there's some very high value business for that very pure material. So that's something else that we'll be pursuing now from those resources. One thing that's got the market attention recently is the work we've been doing in construction products, and especially into concrete. What we're finding is that when you put this halloysite material, due to its functionality of the particle shape, the size, the aspect ratio, and the charge structure on the particles, when it goes into concrete, which is a high ionic strength, high solid slurry, then we get a very interesting interaction that ends up in some property benefits that are desirable. And you see in the graphs there, we're doing some testing now. We've been going for almost 90 days actually now, but we're seeing a very consistent strength gain by using the halloysite kaolin as a rheology modifier. In this case, we're only adding small amounts, so about 1 kilo of this material in 1 cube of concrete can give quite significant effects, which is interesting because that makes it very commercial from the concrete producer's perspective. You also see there that the bleed reduction. So when I talk about rheology modifier, it improves all sorts of things like the handling, the flow, the pumping, the placing, and one of those very important properties is bleed, which is the amount of water that bleeds out. That is a bad thing in concrete. And you see there that by adding the halloysite-kaolin, we get a very significant reduction in that bleed. So work there is progressing extremely well. We've got some interesting things happening. We'll be doing some industrial scale trials in the very near future. And we'll also be passing the Australian national standards for concrete on the 25th of this month, which means it'll be qualified for use in 99% of all concrete in Australia. So some exciting things happening there, and we're also getting some similar benefits in mine backfill material. And likewise with that, we're doing some additional work now and heading towards some trials. Halloysite is the most researched clay mineral in the world, and this is by a huge amount. It dwarfs any other research of any other clay. This is due to the shape, that's a shape that I described earlier, with the natural nanotube shape. And some people are spending vast amounts of money making those tubes out of carbon. Well, we actually got those tubes in the ground naturally, so we got a massive head start there. And what we're finding is that by doing some clever work on those materials, we can functionalize those and make them interesting for a whole lot of new applications. This includes areas such as hydrogen, storage and transport, batteries, water purification, drug delivery, carbon capture. You see the whole list there. So there's some very exciting stuff coming through there. We're working with Minotaur on this on a 50-50 joint venture, which is called Natural Nanotech. At the moment, we're working towards building a pilot plant, a $1.5 million pilot plant in Newcastle, New South Wales, which will be the first product we'll be looking at there is to produce the carbon capture material. So this is a new slide that wasn't in last week, but the research team at the University of Newcastle, they have a group there and a building that is the Global Innovation Centre for Advanced Nanomaterials. They're doing some great work for us, and at the moment you'll see some numbers there that for carbon capture here that I focused on. We can produce a material from the halloysite that's got some incredibly high levels of carbon capture ability. So it means that potentially we can suck CO2 out of the atmosphere by using modules made from this activated halloysite material. And that material can either be then converted to a fuel, so we can actually extract that to make a clean fuel such as methanol, or we could use that halloysite impregnated with carbon dioxide material as a filler for concrete, for example. So some very exciting stuff happening there, and they've got some technology that is working, it's proven, And this material sells for exceptionally high values in the market. So as I mentioned there, carbon capture is leading the way. This pilot plant should be operating soon. And at the moment, there's some numbers there, but you can see there that the halloysite material can suck very large amounts of CO2. We're talking about 1.1 tons of CO2 per ton of material, and 1.1 tons of CO2 as a very light gas. You imagine that's a huge volume that we can take out of the atmosphere and do our part to help global warming. So the current highlights here. At the moment, the Great White Project, our PFS numbers were very robust, very strong, and got a good reaction in the market. We are now working on those in our DFS studies, but they were based on a 12.5 million ore reserve, with about 10 million tons of the high halloysite, which is very important for what we're trying to do here. That gave us an NPV of over $700 million and EBITDA for a life of mine of over 2 billion. That was based on a 26-year mine life, mining rate of about 500,000 tons per year. And probably the most impressive number of all there was the IIR was 175%. So some incredibly good numbers there. But now we're moving forward into the midterm. So we're now pushing forward the concrete work, trying to get that pushed through into the studies that we're pursuing now. We're also looking at opportunities with high purity halloysite, both purification and sourcing that material. Camel Lake is a known deposit, we're not sure how big, of extremely high purity halloysite. And we are making progress there now. We've had meetings with the traditional owners, 2 meetings now, and we hope to get on the ground there soon and also progress that very exciting project because that is the best halloysite that anyone's known, anyone's found ever in the world so far. So that's exciting if we can progress that one. The ultra high purity kaolin, so we're doing some more work on that. There'll be some results coming out soon. That is the stuff that's non-halloysite type, but it's aimed at the very high value coatings market, possibly polymers as well. We're trying to commercialize the nanotechnology as quickly as possible, and that's proceeding well. And we're also looking at high purity alumina project collaboration opportunities, and hope to be able to announce something soon on that as well. So what is the market value? Just to try and put that in numbers for you. So the PFS on the left there was based on a sale price of about 700 Australian dollars per tonne. This is for the purely for ceramics. And we have letters of intent offtake agreements for all of the material that we plan to produce initially. But if you go across there, you see that there's another area where the value jumps up from about $1,000 to up to $5,000 a tonne for the pure halloysite, and also into the concrete area. So this is something that we're looking at now, and that's being pushed through into the DFS. The extra profit there could be very interesting to our numbers. And then finally, the new areas where we're looking at the natural nanotech type applications and the halloysite nanotube nanotechnologies there, we're talking about thousands of dollars per gram. And material is already being produced and sold for over $3 million a tonne in the carbon capture space. And so we're looking at material that will outperform that by using halloysite material. So some exciting numbers ahead there in the future. So what's next? So at the moment, we're doing our definitive stroke bankable feasibility study. Now, we were planning to release that probably middle of next month. At the moment, we are reviewing that because these new opportunities that are coming through are very exciting, and they could give us some tremendous benefit in that study. So for us, it makes sense to probably push that out. It won't affect at all our timelines for operation. That's important to mention. So the mining lease approval, which is also in progress and going very well, that is completely unaffected by the studies. So there's no point in rushing those if we can make them look much more attractive. So that's all in progress at the moment. We're getting some final approvals done for these ceramic customers, so we convert them across to binding offtakes. That'll give us much more confidence. Also, the concrete testing, that's in progress, and we'll be hopefully releasing some more good news on that soon, along with the HPA and nanotechnology work that's all ongoing. We are, in addition to that, looking at some other industrial mineral opportunities. So we have the opportunity to sell some minerals alongside what we're doing. They complement our materials that we've got, and it makes it much easier for us to do that. So we are looking at those as well. And looking forward to 2021, we're hoping that we'll get some high purity halloysite resources into our portfolio as well. And the big one there is early 2022, so that's February 2022, according to our timelines, and this is entirely dependent on the approval process with the government. Then we'll be looking at commencing operations in early 2022. In summary, we've got one of the world's largest resources of this type of material. It's highly desirable. Demand is increasing while supply is decreasing. It's low capex, short payback, short timeline to operation. Our business model is very simple. The mining is low impact. It's shallow mining. It's more like quarrying. There's no nasty chemicals, no tailings, so it's very easy. And so we're well positioned now to become the world's leader in this mineral, but also a world leader in all the technologies that surround that mineral. Thanks for your time now. I hope that made sense, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
James, thanks for a fascinating presentation on a market probably none of us know a great deal about. Could you perhaps sort of give us some indication on the size of the Australian and global construction concrete markets and how much halloysite is actually used in sort of overall volumes in those markets?
Well, what we've done here is spend a long time working on this. So in the background, probably there's probably a year's work gone to this already in the background, just to make sure that what we got here is something that is not academic exercise. It is actually a genuine commercial exercise. So what we've done here is we've targeted our material. We've found out which of our materials works best by doing a lot of studies, and then worked out how we can get the right amount into concrete. That means it won't affect the overall cost of the concrete, but it'll give some tremendous benefits to the end user. This means that the whole market opens up to us, not just very small niche areas, which is the problem with a lot of additives nowadays. It also means that the approval process is much easier and much quicker, because we're only on an additive rather than a major component. So at the moment, numbers are approximately, in Australia, it's hard to get a handle on these, but around about 300 million cubes of concrete poured in Australia every year. So we're looking at using maybe 1, possibly 2 maximum kilos of our material per cube. So you run the numbers on that. That means that would, it depends how much market penetration could be achieved. But we will certainly, domestic market will certainly, could certainly consume everything we could produce for a number of years. Australia is only a minute fraction of the world's concrete. So that one's a truly global and a truly huge opportunity for us. So that's why we've been so careful with it. And that's why we're trying to progress that as professionally as possible to the next stage.
Thanks, James. Maybe talk a little bit about is there a threat from a synthetic halloysite?
No, there's many people have tried for many years. And I've been involved in this industry for 32 years now, and also been involved and been looking at, watching what's going on, and no one has managed to do it yet. I mean, as an academic exercise, yeah, you probably can do it, and I've seen papers claiming they can do it, but it'll probably cost you about 1,000 times what it is, what you could sell it for to do that. So at the moment, though, it's one of those things that nature does very well, but it takes nature tens of millions of years and some very specific environmental conditions. And it does a great job. But as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it doesn't happen very many places in the world. You can get the odd halloysite tube in any kaolin deposit around the world. So that does happen every now and then, but to get a significant amount, and when I mean significant amount, we're talking about 20, 30, 40 or 50% or more percentage of the halloysite tubes, and that is very rare. So we're lucky that we've got that material, and we're confident that we've extended all our tenements. Last year, we extended them all to encompass all the ground that we believe that any commercial amounts do exist at the moment.
Very good. What's the capex for the project, and how confident are you on reaching production in early 2022, as you were saying?
So with our pre-feasibility study, our model there was to start shipping DSO, so direct shipping ore overseas, to toll refine, which the cash flow from that would fund our plant construction after 18 months. So there we're looking at total capex of about 28 million for the whole. That's to fund the business and mainly cover the cost of mining and transport and the refining. And what we're looking at the moment is that was when our market cap was about a tenth of what it is now. So now looking where we are, if we built a modern state-of-the-art plant, actually on site, you're probably talking about around about 50 million for the whole thing up and running. So we're now reviewing that very carefully because it may be a lot more strategically sensible for us to go straight to a plant on site. That will eliminate a lot of risk with shipping material overseas and control issues and double handling issues as well, and costs. So potentially we could do it ourselves on site at a much lower cost. And now, of course, we've got this potential domestic market as well that's coming rapidly up in front of us. It makes a lot of sense to do that. So in these studies we're now, and that's the reason we're looking at pushing a DFS out. We need to look at that option and look at that very carefully because that could be the best solution for all involved. And your second part of your question, yeah, we're looking at February 22 to start, and that is purely due to the government process. It takes that long. There's a 9-month approval process once the application is lodged for the mining lease. So we will lodge that in February next year, but then we've got 9 months before we can get approval. But by this time next year, we should have approval and we should be starting to recruit our operational staff and getting ready for operations.
Thank you very much. I think that's the time we have for questions now. Any closing comments you'd like to make?
No, thanks so much. I appreciate your time and thanks for listening, everyone. And yeah, Andromeda, we've come a long way in a short time, but I'm convinced that we've still got a long way to go. And we've got all these new exciting areas that are actually opening up as we move forward. So certainly exciting times ahead and look forward to a great 2021.
James, thanks for the story.
Thank you.